So do you want to know more about building a shelf layout or adding a new section to your layout? Why don't you stick around and watch this segment and see how we did it on my in-scale model railroad, the RJR Secondary. Hello everyone, Joe from Central Jersey Conrail in-scale, and welcome back. So this time, we are going to get started constructing the Amboy Secondary. Amboy Secondary is that section that I've been mentioning that goes through the hole in the wall over there, over my shoulder right here, and goes out into the family room. So what is this all about? So initially, in the initial track plan, I had decided that the Y at Jamesburg here was going to have a tail that was going to represent some traffic, but then as the track plan developed, there really wasn't much room to put any kind of cars to kind of have like a staging area. Then I thought about opening up through the backdrop to give me a little more room, and still not enough. So eventually I just came up with the idea of just breaking through into the other room, because that corner over there, as you'll see, is perfect for just a little shelf to put some track and a couple structures on. So, you know, I discussed the idea with my wife. She was on board with it, and we proceeded on with, you know, designing, doing a lot of research and stuff like that, and coming up with an ultimate usable track plan. Now, the whole thing about this whole little section is I want this to happen fairly fast. I don't want to be lingering for months and months and months, because I don't want like an eyesore out there in the family room. You know, the train room, you know, it has been progressing over years now, but when I have visitors over, I don't want them to see the mess. I can just close the door. So that's why I had a clear-cut idea of what I wanted to do. I had all the pieces in place, with the exception of, you know, some few detail parts and stuff, so this way I can just keep going and pounding through it. And so that's why this video series, I'm hoping to get this done over 3 episodes here to have that whole section done. Okay, so now that I gave you a little background and an idea of what this is all about, let's go head over and watch the video. Be happy to let you know that, you know, I sit down and I was doing my voiceover, and I realized we're playing the same music over and over again. So I scrapped it and went on Creator Studio and downloaded a whole new playlist. So a lot of new music from Silent Partner and a new band called Underbelly. So check it out, and I'll see you afterwards. Okay, everyone. So before we get started constructing the Amboy Secondary, I wanted to go over and take you through Google Earth and show you the area so you can understand the track design before we get started. Okay, everyone, so here we are in the Central Jersey area. You can see Saraville and South Amboy. This would be where their engine house is located at. Right here where this marker is, that is Brown's Yard, and you can see sunshine right in there. And if I use my ruler, Jamesburg is approximately 7 miles to the southwest. So if I go down here and I zoom into Jamesburg, you can see the Y right here at Jamesburg. Now, in the Conrail timetable, this line here is called the Amboy Secondary. But for the purposes of the layout, this main line here is the RJR Secondary, and it curves through this way. We have the Y in place, and this straight leg here is the one that turns and goes through the backdrop. And this is also a portion of the Amboy Secondary. In the timetable on Conrail, after this point here, this becomes the Heightstown Industrial, and it goes into Heightstown, and the Amboy Secondary goes this way to the west. So we're looking at a current picture. This is dated May of 2018. So as we go to the west here, you can see that there's a lot of large industrial warehousing districts here, and this general vicinity is known as the Cranberry area. It's a Cranberry zip code. It's actually, I think, South Brunswick Township. And as we approach here, you can see that this is the New Jersey Turnpike. And this was starting the area that I'm going to model. So for the purposes of this little tour, I'm going to take this slider. You go to your time clock and you dial back. I'm going to take it back to approximately here, 2003. Nice color aerial photo. Okay, so after the Amboy Secondary crosses under the New Jersey Turnpike, it crosses Route 535, Middlesex County Route 535, and it approaches the BASF plant. Now, what the BASF plant did was they made it EPS, expanded polystyrene foam. And this particular facility here was one of the largest of its types in North America. They produce approximately 79,000 tons annually. It was a low pentane type of foam, and that was very conducive for the building industry. You may be familiar with the pink foam and the green foam, but what they produced here at BASF was the white foam. And what that was predominantly used for was for insulating concrete foundations. So what they did is they brought in ethylene, benzene, and pentane, and they combined it in their 4 reactors here to make the liquid polystyrene. And then what they would do is then expand it using steam to make the white foam and then mold it into blocks. This facility was around for a long time. I think I found some articles that had probably been around since the late 70s. It was a very predominant industry over here in Dayton. Unfortunately, with the changing market, BASF decided to close the facility in 2004 and moved all production to Mexico City. Definitely wanted to feature this on this section of the layout because driving up and down the turnpike, this was very visible, this large tower here, and it had a big sign on it that said BASF. So definitely one of the industries I want to include. So I'm going to turn my clock back to present date. You can see the facility is gone. It's now a warehouse facility. So if we go to the west, you'll see that this area opens up, and this area here is known as the Keller Industrial Park. There's various manufacturing and warehouse facilities. A lot of the manufacturing has been shut down and moved to other locations, and it's been turned into large warehouses. There is some rail service in present date. However, I'm not too familiar with the area anymore because I've moved away. So what I'll do is I'll turn the timer back to 2004. And we'll go this way. So according to the Conrail ZTS maps, there were some other industries in here that were rail served. If you look in here, this is the ink company. I'm not too sure the name. They received carbon black, and they made ink for distribution. That has been since closed down. I just saw a post on Facebook the other day that they're actually tearing all these tanks out. This is a plastic film corporation. They make plastic wrapping. Here's another plastics facility. What's not here is later, in present date, this is now a paper company, and they receive loads of paper, and the plastic company has gone out of business. Scrolling back down to the south, we come to this area. This is Air Products. Air Products amine facility. What they did is they made a VAE polymer. From everything that I have researched, what I understand VAE is it's something that they spray on to upholstery to keep it from wrinkling. So my research, what I've understood what they do here is they take a vinyl acetate and ethylene and they combine it in a polymerization process to make the VAE. This was a lot of rail traffic coming in because it was liquids in and liquids out. They did ship some out on truck to local industries, but a majority of it was shipped out by rail. The facility closed down. Air Products divested itself of the amine business, and I think the facility, let's see, as of 2010, 2008, they were tearing it down. So you can see there's most of it's gone there. So I wanted to feature this in the section of the layout because it was a large traffic generator. A lot of cars coming in and out. You can also see that there's another plastics type company to the south here. A lot of rail traffic coming in and out on the Amboy Secondary in this area. The next facility I want to talk about is this one here. This is listed on the ZTS map as RJR Foods, also Del Monte. Apparently they were a Del Monte distributor. It was a cold storage warehouse shipping mostly Del Monte fruit products. They received refrigerated loads. As of 2002, you can see that they don't have anything on the rail spur, but if we go back, and it's too fuzzy there, but if you go to Historical Aerials website, you can see that there is reefers stored in here. Decided that I wanted to feature this cold storage facility so I can bring in some, some refrigerated boxcars, something a little different. So if we continue to the west here, you see that the Amboy Secondary again goes under Route 130, continues on down into Dayton. I believe this is Dayton area. There is a runaround track down here so that they can perform the runaround to go back to Browns Yard. This area is all serviced by the WJSA 42. Calls out of Browns Yard and will come down here. They'll come down and make the runaround and then go back to Browns. And if you follow all the way to the end of the Amboy Secondary, it goes all the way into Monmouth Junction and meets up with the northeast corridor here. However, I don't know if any trains actually went out into the corridor, but I know back in the PRR days or the Penn Central days that this was electrified and it was used as a bypass to bring in all of their coal trains going to the coal dumper at South Amboy. Okay, so now we're back in the area of Air Products and RJR Foods Del Monte. This area, as you can see, it's a very large, a lot of traffic coming in and out of here. It could be its own layout of itself. However, I just wanted to have a small shelf just to represent the traffic coming in and out of here. The three facilities that I'm going to select is going to be RJR Foods because it's right up here by the main, Air Products, and BASF because of its iconic building right there by the turnpike. Okay, so just to cut through the clutter so you can see this map here. This is our main line on the layout, and this little green is our branch line that we're representing all the way down to Dayton. So this little section here is the tentative track plan that I've developed to represent that area. It's not totally prototypical, but it gives a good flavor. There'll be the hole in the wall right here that goes to the Y in Jamesburg. This will be obscured by the New Jersey Turnpike. Probably have a road crossing here for 535, the BASF facility. This will be the Air Products facility, and this will be the RJR Foods or Del Monte. The dimensions that I'm looking at is going to be 4 foot by 16 inches. And here is a photograph of the area where the section is going to be built. I didn't want to come out any further than 4 foot because up at the top here, this soffit, I didn't want to break that plane. Just wanted to keep it nice and neat to look like it fits in that area perfectly. So I think 4 foot by 16 inches is going to give us just what we need. Okay, last point to make before we get started. The buildings that I'm going to be using, I'm not going to scratch build because these buildings are all gone again. There is no pictures, there is no blueprints or anything like that. There's no kind of public information on it. So I'm just going to use readily available Walthers kits and kit bash them to kind of give the general flavor of the facility here. Air Products, I'm also going to kit bash a Walthers, probably the Metro Power and Light building will be good that I can adapt to this facility. And for the RJR Foods, I'm going to use the Central Beverage Distribution Kit from Walthers. So as you can see, Air Products is all gone. So we're going to do the best we can. We're just going to craft those kits to give the overall idea of the facilities. Okay, so with that, let's get started building. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the hole in the wall. I poked a little hole through from the other side to give my marker, and I'm just going to open it up so that it mates up with the hole on the other side. Now I'm going to mark the location of the studs so I know where to put the bench work. So the bench work in this section is 1x4 pine. I put it together with drywall screws. The 2 joists in the center I kind of just evenly spaced. They're not at any particular spots. My torpedo level here, make sure the bench work is level, and then use screws and put it right into the studs. Okay, Okay, so now I start mocking everything up, and this is when I realized that even though I'm using number 5 turnouts, Air Products is not going to fit. It's going to cramp the whole section. It's just going to look too much. So I eliminated Air Products. I went with RJR Foods and BASF. Okay, so the backdrop, I wanted to keep it simple. I just masonite on a 1x2 frame, and now I'm attaching it to the benchwork itself. I didn't want to attach anything else to the wall, so I didn't ruin the drywall. Okay, so you can already see that I brought in the sub-roadbed from the other room. I used a 1/2-inch maple plywood. They didn't have the birch, so I just substituted. It's all one piece, so it's all nice and smooth. There's no rough transitions through the hole in the wall, and one piece all the way into the layout. Okay. So now I'm just taking my time, make sure each little area is all level, both horizontally and vertically, screwing it to the risers. So now I'm adding the second section of the sub-roadbed. What I found the best process is to make up your risers and just clamp them to the benchwork. Level up your sub-roadbed, attach it to the risers, and then go back and screw the risers into the benchwork. This way it allows you to adjust it as you go. So I just attached the sub-roadbed to the risers using coarse thread drywall screws. Make sure to countersink those down so they sit below the surface. This way you don't get the humps in the cork roadbed. So now I just attached the 2 pieces of sub-roadbed together with a little splice plate. It's a 1/4-inch plywood that I just glue and screw into the joint. Now I'm just going to take the time to draw the track plan right onto the sub-roadbed. Makes it easier for laying your cork. So here we go. Big step forward, a lot of progress. I put in the green insulation foam. I just went with green because Lowe's doesn't sell the Owens pink foam. Same stuff, it's just a different brand. I got to this point before I started doing the cork. I wanted to see the actual size of the building, so I just assembled all the components and the buildings roughly. I didn't finish them off. I'm going to go back and do that at a later time. This way I knew the full dimensions of the facilities, where to lay the track plan. So for BASF, I used the Walther Superior Paper Mill. I made some changes. The brick building, you can notice I turned it sideways and only built half of the building. So it would fit in the space, because otherwise that brick building would have overwhelmed the scene. There would have been no room for anything. Peculiar thing that happened with this kit was that there was a lot of extra pieces, so I had a lot of extra tanks and outbuildings, so it worked out pretty well. So as you saw, we spackled and sanded the cork roadbed here. It's painted. I used craft paints, the apple barrel asphalt color. Now I'm priming and painting the backdrop, just my standard sky color that I used in the other room. Now I'm just going to go ahead and paint the ground color. We're using apple barrel khaki, good color for dirt. You can see covering the hole is a mock-up of the New Jersey Turnpike Bridge. I had to cut that back. I wanted to make it the full 6 lanes. However, that bridge would have been too big, so I cut it back. We're just going to have to do like 3 lanes. And it's foam core. I'm going to have to scratch build that, so we'll get to that at a later point. So we are getting started with laying track using microengineering code 55 flex, and we're using Atlas code 55 turnouts. I have 2 number 5s and 2 number 7s. So at this point I'm having a little trouble with these number 5s. They kind of got a peculiar departure angle. As you see from this clip here, they're almost like the frogs are turned, making it almost like a Y switch. So what I had to do is stagger cut the flex track so that I could point them in the right direction to keep the normal route at as straight as line as possible. So also at this point I've come to the realization that we have to eliminate the road crossing, because if I put 535 in on that angle, it's going to obscure the siding for BASF, and you're only going to fit about 1 tank car in there. So not really needed for the scene, so we'll just eliminate that at this point. So on the front section here, I'm going to leave that foam out until I install the tortoises, just so I have enough room to work, and then we'll put the foam in and finish off the scene in the front. Also in this scene, I'm going to put some catenary poles in to represent the old electrified line that was there, but it's been turned off and removed. I soldered all the joints for good electrical connection, so that's what I'm doing there. Now I'm going to vacuum up the scene and clean up really good, because we're going to get ready to start gluing the track, and you don't want any of that junk getting stuck in the glue. Okay, so here we are gluing down the track. We're using DAP clear latex adhesive caulk. It dries clear, so it's perfect for doing this. And we'll bring out the Soup Can Express one last time. So, laying this track section here, this is going to be the last new track that we're laying for the layout. So, it's the golden spike, if you will, for the layout. So overall, even though we had to lose air products in the road crossing, really happy with the way the scene came together. The runaround is perfect. You could fit 5 cars in there and still run around. So it's going to make for good operations. I think everybody's going to really like it. Okay, everyone, so there you go. That's how we put it together. So let's talk about it for a little bit. I didn't get any video footage of me putting the track in at the Y in Jamesburg. It came together really, really nice, very smooth. I used a 15-inch radius curve for the main line that would go through the hole, and the reversing section is a 13-inch radius curve, so it came out really good. Next segment we do, I'll make sure to get some shots of that in for you. Okay, so as you can see from the flyover, this area down here, this Keller Industrial Park, lots of modeling possibilities, a lot of different industries. RJR Foods seemed like a definite for me because I want to get some different types of cars coming in and off the layout, and I thought that this would give me an opportunity to get some refrigerated box cars coming in. So picked that. And then BASF, definitely had to have that because I just remember my teenage years driving up and down the turnpike, always seeing that blue building that said BASF on it. Very iconic there for right there next to the turnpike. So I had to have that. So when I got to the mock-up phase, I realized that, I was overestimating my space. That Air Products was really going to squeeze this whole section in, and it really wasn't going to look good. It wasn't going to operate well. So I made the decision that, I really wasn't attached to Air Products, so I just eliminate it. And, when you looked at my track plan and you looked at the overhead shots, Air Products had a lot of cars in there. We were going to really squeeze it, and it wasn't going to do it justice. So that's why I went with with BASF and RJR Foods. So this time around, when I was doing the mock-ups, it helped having the buildings on hand. So I made the decision to just go ahead and assemble those, but not put all the details and finish them off, so that I could, plan around the buildings and have the exact size. So that really made the difference this time around. And so the decision to use the Walters kits and Kish bash them, I said before, there is no plans, there's no blueprints, there's no anything to reproduce these facilities. So, I just tried to eyeball it from those aerial shots, and I thought that, I could mix and match the Walters paper mill to kind of give the general flavor. So not exact representation, but it gives you the idea. So overall, very happy with the way it came out. It's going to be a lot of fun to operate, and I can't wait to get it finished. So at this point in this section, we got our scenery started, we got all our subroadbed in, we got the track work in, we just had to power it. That's going to be next segment. The decision, to kind of cut this backdrop here. I'm not going to mess around with any valances or any extra lighting. I think this light that's in the overhead here is just enough. When you put all the rest of the room lighting on, it really lights up the area for operations. If I want that sunny look, like in the layout room, I'll just have to, spotlight it with floodlights for videos and photos. So I'm okay with that. And so next time, we're going to install all of our electrical. We're going to put in our tortoises. We're going to put in the rest of this foam in the front here. We'll put on our fascia, do our panel, and get started on the basic scenery work. So with that, that's all I have for you this time. Be sure to tune in next time so you can see us continue building this section here. If you're seeing this video for the first time, please subscribe to the channel. Make sure to check out our Facebook and Instagram accounts because I'm always putting daily updates of all the progress. And otherwise, I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.